It was the summer of 1994, at a remote family campground nestled deep in the woods of Pennsylvania. The kind of place where time felt slower, where tradition still lived in creaky cabins and picnic tables stained by lemonade and years of memories. That was the year 5-year-old Maddie Reich disappeared without a sound. She had been playing at the edge of the clearing, dragging a stick through the dirt, humming softly to herself. One moment she was there, the next she was simply gone. No cries for help, no rustling bushes, just silence. When her absence was finally noticed, the search erupted with urgency. Relatives calling out, rangers combing the dense forest with dogs and flashlights, helicopters tracing long shadows over the trees. But the woods didn't give her back. The only trace left behind was a single photograph taken moments before she vanished. It was Clare, her 12-year-old cousin, who had snapped it, just an idle picture of the fire pit. But when the film was developed, they saw her, not Maddie, behind Maddie. At the edge of the trees, a barefoot girl, pale and blank-eyed, wearing white overalls. No one knew her. She wasn't family. She wasn't from town. She wasn't on any guest list. And yet, in the photo, she was watching, not just Maddie, but the lens itself, as if she knew. August 6th, 1994. Mirror Pines Campground. The sun pressed down with oppressive heat, the kind that stuck to your skin like wet cotton. The scent of warm pine needles and charred firewood filled the air. Kids darted across the gravel barefoot, laughter echoing between the cabins while adults clustered under shade tarps, drinking lemonade and chasing nostalgia with old cassette radios playing Fleetwood Mac. Mirror Pines had hardly changed since the late 60s when the Reich family first began gathering here. 17 cabins, a single recreation hall, a shallow, still lake surrounded by woods that didn't care what decade it was. At precisely 2:14 p.m., the call for the annual group photo rang out. "Everybody to the sycamore," someone yelled. Probably Uncle Hank. A shuffle of limbs, reluctant groans, the rustling of paper plates and snack wrappers, and then the slow shuffle toward tradition. 12-year-old Clare Reich held her mother's hand tightly, squinting into the sun. "Where's Maddie?" she asked. Her mother barely looked up. "Probably with the twins. Go find her. Photo's about to start." Clare sighed. Maddie was always disappearing, not in a way that made people panic, but in the way quiet, curious children do. She was the kind of little girl who wandered off to talk to butterflies, who knelt for ants like they were her classmates. That day, she wore the cherry print dress again, the one that never stayed clean, and, as usual, no shoes. Aunt Becca had reminded her a dozen times. Clare checked the usual hiding spots, beneath the tables near the canoe rack, just inside the rec hall door. Still nothing. As the camera was being set up, Clare caught a glimpse, and there Maddie was, sitting cross-legged at the base of the massive sycamore, her chin tilted toward the branches, her gaze fixed on something unseen. "Maddie," Clare called gently, tugging her arm. "Come on, it's time." Maddie blinked slowly, eyes wide. "I saw a girl, in the tree." Clare followed her gaze. Only birds, bark, and swaying branches. "Well, she's not invited. Let's go." That photograph, click, click, was the last anyone saw of Maddie Reich. Uncle Nate was the first to notice. Lunch had started, and Maddie hadn't shown up to sneak a Capri Sun from the cooler like she always did. Clare was already scanning the clearing again, her stomach quietly tightening. The search began lightly, with shouts and laughter. But after 15 minutes, it shifted. Voices grew sharp. Someone ran to alert the rangers. Another sprinted toward the lake. 30 minutes in, the picnic turned into a perimeter. By the time search and rescue arrived, the sun had dipped behind the trees. Dogs barked. Handlers gave instructions. Parents held younger children tighter than usual. But night fell with no answers. The forest kept its silence. That night, Claire lay awake in the darkened bunkhouse, still wearing the clothes she'd worn all afternoon. The air was too still, the silence too thick. Some cousins asked questions, others just clung to stuffed animals. Aunt Becca didn't speak. Not once. Not after the ranger explained there were no signs of struggle, no torn fabric, no trails of shoes or screams, just one footprint, one small barefoot print in the dirt near the trees, and then nothing. Claire stared out the window, replaying Maddie's words. I saw a girl in the tree. She hadn't been pretending. She wasn't giggling. She was watching, really watching. The next morning, yellow tape looped around trees. Boats skimmed the lake. Drones hovered. Thermal sensors scanned every square inch. They even brought in one of Maddie's pillowcases from home for the dogs, but it was like the earth had opened and swallowed her. 3 days later, the reunion ended. Coolers were packed, cabins locked, families left with hollow expressions and stories they didn't know how to explain to their kids. But Aunt Becca refused to leave. She stayed at the ranger station, studying maps, sleeping on a cot, calling Maddie's name into the trees like the woods might suddenly answer back. Her husband took their other kids home, but Becca didn't go. Some say she never really left Mirror Pines at all, not in the way that matters. The official report called it an unresolved disappearance. No suspects, no body, just a group photo, developed weeks later, where Maddie stood smiling in the front row. And just behind her, out of focus but undeniable, stood the barefoot girl in white overalls, crooked bangs, blank stare, and a half smile like she'd always been part of the family. Only she wasn't. September 9th, 2024, Jefferson Township, Pennsylvania. Clare Reich sat alone at her desk, the glow of her lamp warming the corners of an old photo frame. Her fingers, white-knuckled around the border, trembled slightly. She'd seen this image hundreds of times over the years, laughing with cousins, teasing about haircuts, remembering. But this time was different. This time, her eyes weren't on Maddie. They were on the girl behind her. She wasn't scribbled into the list of names on the back. She wasn't in any family memory, any photo albums, or reunion emails. She was just there, still, watching. And this time, Claire couldn't look away. Bangs, one bare foot planted on dead grass. Toes splayed like roots. Her eyes, focused, not confused, not startled, fixed on the lens as if she had been waiting for the shutter to blink. Claire set the photo down and rubbed her eyes. It had shown up yesterday, unearthed from a basement box her mother had been digging through, an envelope labeled 94 Reunion. Her mother asked her to scan them for a slideshow they were putting together for Uncle Hank's memorial. Claire didn't even remember agreeing. Now she couldn't look away. That face, that girl, the one no one ever talked about, the one who didn't belong. By midnight, Claire had pulled 5 more photo albums from the closet. Her spare room floor was buried in binders, plastic sleeves, and shoeboxes labeled in thick black marker. Lake Geneva 1995, Pittsburgh 87, Cousins 1990, weddings. Her fingers shook as she opened one marked family, 1980 to 1995. Page after page flashed before her. Birthdays, barbecues, baptisms. Then, there she was again. Same white overalls, same limp bangs, same hollow expression. This time, in the corner of a 4th of July photo from 1983. Claire, not even walking yet, was in a red romper, toddling between sparklers and folding chairs. Her dad held a beer in one hand, a sparkler in the other. Her aunt and uncle posed in matching flag t-shirts. Everything glowed with Americana joy. But half-shadowed by a tree, just beyond the backyard edge, stood the barefoot girl, watching the camera. Claire snapped the album shut. By morning, she was on the phone with her cousin Jen. "Do you remember that girl from the '94 photo, behind Maddie?" Claire asked. Jen paused. "What girl?" Claire took a breath. White overalls, barefoot, straight bangs, looked about 7. I don't remember anyone like that. Wasn't that the year Maddie? Yes, Claire whispered. And she's in a photo from '83, too. Silence stretched between them. Could be one of the neighborhood kids, Jen offered weakly. Claire didn't believe that. Not for a second. Do you still have your albums? I think so. Why? Can I come look? That afternoon, Claire sat cross-legged on Jen's carpet while Jen flipped through a red binder labeled 1983 to 1992. Here's one, Jen said, pulling a photo free. Claire leaned in. There, right side, just behind the lattice fence, obscured by slats and sunlight. The same girl, same clothes, same vacant look, always nearby, but never part of the family. Not smiling, not posing, not playing. How is that possible? Jen whispered. She looks exactly the same. She doesn't age, Claire murmured. Jen stared. That's impossible. Claire shook her head slowly. Not if she isn't real. By evening, Claire had scanned every photo in her mother's collection. Then Jen's, then her aunt's. 29 photos across 31 years. The girl appeared in 9. 9 separate family gatherings, always the same age, always alone, and always within arm's reach of a child between 4 and 7. In one, she crouched near a sandbox in 1980. In another, she peeked from behind a picnic table in 1977. In 1983, she was behind Claire. In 1994, behind Maddie. Claire's stomach turned. What if it wasn't coincidence? What if she was choosing them? Long past midnight, Claire sat on her couch, every photo thumbnail open on her laptop. Out of instinct, she launched a facial recognition plugin, one her school's tech department used for yearbook cross-checks. She uploaded 3 clean scans of the girl's face. The program took a minute. Then, match confidence, 96.4%, suggested identity, Evelyn Marie Cross, age 7, status, missing, date, October 9th, 1972, location, Cherryville, Pennsylvania. Claire's heart skipped. Cherryville, just 40 minutes from Mirror Pines. She searched public archives. The original flyer popped up. Evelyn M. Cross, age 7, brown hair, blue eyes, white overalls, barefoot. Last seen outside her family's mobile home near mile marker 28. No witnesses, no leads. Case unresolved. Claire stared at the screen, stunned. The same name, the same face, the same clothes. She hadn't aged in over 20 years. Claire printed both images, the flyer and the 1994 reunion photo, and laid them side by side. Identical. Right down to the faint scar above her eyebrow, the pale smear of dirt under her cheek. And then Claire's eyes drifted to the right side of the reunion photo, to Maddie, smiling. Moments before she vanished. Claire didn't sleep that night, couldn't. She dove deeper, news archives, police forums, paranormal cases. Evelyn's family had moved away a year after she vanished. The case had gone cold, forgotten, but not for Claire. She picked up the phone, called the Jefferson Township Police. Has the 1994 Maddie Wright case ever been reopened? Ma'am, that file's closed, the officer replied. No new leads. What about the photograph? What photograph? Click. If they didn't see it then, they wouldn't see it now. But Claire believed, because the girl in white overalls wasn't just watching. She was waiting. September 11th, 2024. Mirror Pines. Claire hadn't driven that road in 30 years. The same winding path, the same cracked shoulder, the same faded sign just past mile marker 43. Mirror Pines Campground. Her knuckles tightened on the wheel as the trees seemed to lean closer, swallowing the road, choking the morning light. The air smelled like moss and memory. She didn't know what she expected to find. The gate stood open, paint flaking, hinges rusted. A crooked closed to public sign clung to one chain, forgotten. She parked beside the old ranger's cabin, now collapsed into itself, ivy choking the windows, roof sunken. She didn't pause. Her feet remembered the path before her mind could catch up. Past cabin 3, cabin 4, past the empty recreation hall, toward the clearing. The sycamore still stood, wide and twisted, its bark furrowed by decades of carved initials. She stepped into the shade and stopped. This was where Maddie had been sitting. "I saw a girl in the tree." Clare turned her face upward. Leaves rustled like whispers. Nothing, but she felt it. That knowing, that presence, the shape of something just out of view. She sat on the stone bench near the edge of the clearing. From her bag, she pulled the envelope of photos. One by one, she laid them across her lap. 1994, 1983, 1977. In every photo, the girl. Always just far enough back to be overlooked, but never far enough to be unseen. Claire whispered, "Who were you?" The wind stirred the leaves. Back in her car, she dialed the county archives. "I'm looking for reports or ranger logs from Mirror Pines between 1960 and 1995, especially missing persons." "Public access is limited," came the voice. "What's this regarding?" "A child who went missing in 1994. Maddie Reich." Pause. "Hold, please." When the voice returned, it was quieter. "You'll want to talk to retired Ranger Hal Emmerich. He led that case. Lives in Saddle Creek now." Then a beat. "Off the record, that place always gave me the creeps." Claire jotted down the name and address. 2 hours later, she found Hal Emmerich on a screened-in porch behind a weathered cabin. He sipped coffee from a chipped mug that read, "Don't ask me, I just work here." His hair was white and cut close, but his eyes were sharp, deep set and the color of wet bark. A dog curled at his feet, tail thumping once, slow and steady, as if recognizing something ancient in Clare. "You the one asking about Maddie Reich?" he asked without preamble. Claire nodded. "I'm her cousin, Clare Reich." He motioned toward the chair across from him. "You look the same, just taller." "I don't remember you." "That's a good thing." She handed him the envelope. Hal sifted through the stack of old photographs like he was flipping through years he hadn't touched in decades. When he got to the 1994 group shot, he froze. "Well, I'll be—" "You see her," Claire said quietly. Hal tapped the image with a crooked finger. "She was there that day. I remember it now." Something was off. Dogs caught a scent, heading into the north woods, but they picked up a second trail. "Barefoot," Claire whispered. He nodded. No one wanted to talk about that part. 2 sets of tracks, both small. No adult prints. We figured maybe Maddie was chasing a raccoon or playing with a cousin. But that second trail, it never looped back. It went straight to the river bend. And stopped. He lit a cigarette. His hand trembled. Just stopped. "She's not just in the 94 photo," Claire said. "She's in older ones, too. Going back to the 70s. Always the same, always behind a kid." Hal didn't flinch. "I've seen her before." Claire's breath caught. "When?" 1971. Boy named Troy Benson, cabin 11, just disappeared. First month on the job for me. No struggle, no blood, just gone." From beside his chair, he pulled out a yellowed folder. Inside, a black and white photo. A boy, maybe 7, holding a hot dog at a picnic table. And behind him, her, the same girl, barefoot, blank. Claire's skin went cold. "What is she?" Hal didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was flat and heavy. "She's not dead, not alive either. She's in between. And she's always looking for someone to bring with her." That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table, the photos spread out like tarot cards across the wood grain, always off-center, always in the periphery, always with the youngest child in the picture. She turned to the 1994 photo again. Maddie's last moment, grinning, shoelace untied, light in her eyes, And behind her, the girl in overalls, feet rooted in the grass like she had always belonged there. Claire picked up a pen and wrote beneath the photo, Evelyn Cross. Then she crossed it out, because she didn't believe that anymore. That name belonged to someone once, but this girl, this thing, wasn't lost. She was patient. September 13th, 2024, Cherryville, Pennsylvania. The trailer park where Evelyn Cross vanished was long gone, paved over. The lot was now a discount store's parking lot, cracked and faded, with red shopping carts rolling in the wind. Claire stood on the edge, right where Lot 17 used to be, Sunset Pines Mobile Court. She had memorized the satellite overlay. Between the back loading dock and a gravel road, that spot matched exactly. She shut her eyes and tried to picture it. Plastic flamingos, a tricycle in the grass, white overalls, barefoot, then gone. She stepped over a worn yellow line. It didn't feel sacred, but it didn't feel right either. The stillness was wrong. For the next 3 hours, she combed through dusty files at the Cherryville Public Records Office. The Cross family's file was thin. 1 child services sheet, 1 missing persons report, and a final memo dated October 19th, 1972. She read the last line aloud. Case status, abandoned. No further investigation pending. Because they moved, she whispered. Because a child vanished and no one wanted to look anymore. No suspects, no witnesses. The family had left in the night, gone west, no forwarding address. She pulled old microfilm from archives. Only 1 article, local girl still missing. Evelyn's first-grade school photo stared out beneath the headline. Claire held it next to the 1994 reunion photo. Same child, same expression. Only Evelyn would have been over 50 by now. This girl hadn't aged a day. That evening, Claire made a list, year by year. Disappearances in a 60-mile radius, children aged 5 to 7. She searched field trips, Sunday schools, picnics. 1963, Hannah Ford, church outing, age 6, 1964. Troy Benson, Mirror Pines, age 7, 1965. Josephine Maris, birthday party, age 5, 1966. Parker Quinn, school field trip, age 6, each unsolved, each a child, each near Mirror Pines. Claire's pen hovered, her hand trembled. Each child's last photo or confirmed sighting happened during a group gathering. Just like Maddie. She scribbled a question on her notepad. Who is she taking? And why? The next morning, Claire drove to the only living relative of Evelyn Cross. Her brother Edwin lived in a weathered house, wine chimes humming on the porch. He opened the door before she could knock. I know why you're here. Claire blinked. You do. You've seen her, he said calmly, as if he'd been waiting for her. I'm looking into my cousin's disappearance, Claire explained. Mirror Pines, 1994. She vanished. But there's this girl. She shows up in our old photos. I traced her back to your sister. He didn't answer at first, then stepped aside. Come in. The house smelled of paper and liniment. Books and folders were stacked in corners. On one wall hung a painting of a dense forest. No path, no light. He sat across from her. His voice cracked. My sister Evelyn disappeared when I was 9. We were in the yard. She just stood up, walked into the trees. Did she say anything? He nodded. She looked back, smiled, then gone. Claire pulled out the photo, the one from 1994. Do you recognize her? He didn't blink. Yes, she looks the same. She always does. Claire leaned in. What do you mean? Edwin opened a box, pulled out a photo. Black and white, 1967. His 7th birthday. There she was again. The girl in white overalls, standing in the background, looking directly at the camera. Claire's heart stuttered. That's before Evelyn disappeared? He nodded. She was at my party too. I just didn't notice until years later. Claire whispered. So she's not Evelyn. Edwin's hands clenched. No. Claire drove home in silence, her thoughts tangled and fraying. The timeline had unraveled. This girl hadn't started with Evelyn. She had been seen before Evelyn ever vanished, before Troy, before Maddie, before Claire. She wasn't Evelyn. She didn't have a name. She had always been there, watching. That night, Claire dreamed of a forest without a sky, trees pressed too close, air too still. She wandered barefoot, leaves wet beneath her soles, the hush of something ancient all around. Then, there she was, the girl in white, facing away. Claire whispered, "Who are you?" The girl turned. Her eyes were black voids. She raised one hand, pointed behind Claire. Claire turned. Maddie was there, still 5, still smiling, reaching toward the other girl's hand. "No!" Claire gasped, bolting awake, lungs burning, hair damp with sweat. The clock read 3:14 a.m. She sat in the dark for a long time, her breath shallow, her hands shaking. The dream still clung to her. Later that morning, she opened her laptop, started a new document, sightings, photos, unexplained presence. She needed to get it all down, every year, every name, every photo, because something told her time was running out. This girl, whoever she was, never chose the same child twice, but Claire had seen her behind Maddie, and once, long ago, behind herself. September 14th, 2024. Location, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Claire parked outside the farmhouse just before noon. The sky was wide and clear, the wind carrying the scent of sun-warmed grass. It was Jen's idea. Her Aunt Linda, unofficial family historian, keeper of every wedding photo and grade school portrait, had moved out here 10 years ago. Jen had once joked that her basement was wall-to-wall scrapbooks, color-coded and cursed. Claire wasn't here for nostalgia. She was here for proof. Aunt Linda met her at the door wearing gardening gloves and a floppy sun hat, hands still dusted with potting soil. "Well, this is a surprise," she said, smiling warmly. "You here for the archives?" "I need to see everything," Claire said, "especially the albums from before 1994. Linda's eyebrows lifted. "That's a tall order, sweetheart. You're talking 400 pounds of family memories." "I know," Claire said. "I think someone was there, someone who wasn't supposed to be." The warmth in Linda's eyes flickered. Then she nodded. "I'll help you carry them up." They spread the albums out across the dining room table. Red binders, green binders, cracked leather photo books bound with curling tape. Claire flipped through each page like she was defusing a bomb, carefully, surgically. One binder marked 1974. Camp Week caught her eye. On the 4th page was a picture of the fishing dock. Uncle Rick holding a bass, Cousin Ellie eating a popsicle, 2 toddlers dangling their feet over the water. And there, at the edge of the tree line, stood a barefoot girl in white overalls. Same vacant expression, same blunt bangs. Claire turned the page. A bonfire photo, orange light catching half a silhouette. The girl again, motionless, watching, arms at her side. Claire began to flip faster. 1976, 1978, 1980, 1983, 1987. The same girl, always in the background. Sometimes clear, sometimes blurred. Never smiling, never changing, always behind a child under 7. Aunt Linda returned with iced tea and paused, seeing the line of photos Claire had set aside. Her voice came quiet. "I didn't realize she was in so many." "You've seen her too," Claire said. Linda nodded slowly, eyes glassy. "I saw her the day Maddie vanished. We were lining up for the photo, and there was this girl, off to the side. I thought she was someone's kid. Then Maddie disappeared, and when I looked back at the Polaroid," Claire handed her the photo. Linda pointed. "That's her. Her name might be Evelyn Cross," Claire whispered, "but I don't think that's really who she is." Linda said, "I don't think she has a name. I think she's been following us longer than we've been alive." That night, Claire digitized every photo. She labeled them by decade, noted the presence of the barefoot girl, tagged each child she stood near: Maddie, Troy, Hannah, Josephine, and herself. In the 1983 4th of July photo, Claire was just 2, toddling in the foreground. Behind her, the girl in white overalls had one hand extended, inches from Claire's shoulder. She never touched, but she never blinked either. The next morning, Claire called her mother. "Did anything strange ever happen when I was little? Did I ever go missing?" A pause. "Well," her mother said slowly, "there was one time. Mirror Pines. You were about 2. You wandered off during the nature hike. We found you by the fire pit. You were playing with rocks, alone." Claire's voice cracked. "Are you sure I was alone?" Another pause. "You kept pointing into the woods afterward. You said, 'The girl in the dirt says I can stay.' We thought you meant a worm." Claire hung up, her hand shaking. The girl had chosen her once, and then changed her mind. Why? She reviewed every photo again. Same pattern. Always one child, always under 7, always smiling. But something new emerged. In 3 photos, the light was just right. The resolution just sharp enough. The girl's shadow didn't match the others. In one, everyone's shadow fell right. Hers fell left. In another, her feet hovered an inch off the grass. In a third, she reflected in the lake, but not the child beside her. Claire wrote in her notebook, "She's not really in the photos. She's on them, like a parasite, a stain. She chooses a child, then they vanish, and she never ages, because time doesn't want her." That night, Claire dreamed of the woods. Cabin 7, the air damp. The floor creaked. Then, the girl, closer than ever. "You didn't come with me?" the girl said. "Why did you take Maddie?" Claire asked. "I offered her." "To who?" "To the place." Claire woke up screaming. She didn't remember the rest, only the cold. She spent the next day creating a digital archive. Unexplained child presence. 14 photos, patterns, names, ages, locations. Then she wrote the email to Detective Susan Grange. She didn't expect an answer. But a day later, standing in the Jefferson Township Cold Case Records room, Detective Grange handed her a folder. Inside were reports. 5 children, 5 disappearances. All in daylight, all in groups. No suspects, no bodies. Nothing but a common shadow and a girl. Not on any guest list, but always watching. Claire wasn't ready for what came next. George Hadley, an old friend of her late Uncle Hank, invited her to see something left behind. Out at the edge of the county, beyond fences and hedges, inside a collapsing barn, he showed her a locked cabinet. Inside, a journal. The vanishing ones, maps, notes, drawings, circles in red around the sycamore. Cabin 7, the dry creek bed, a Polaroid. Not one she'd seen. Maddie, August 1994. But this time, the girl wasn't just behind her. She was reaching. Claire laid all the photos out by year: 1957, 1963, 1971, 1978, 1985, 1994. And one from 1983. Her own face. 2 years old, laughing. The girl in white overalls just behind her. Hand raised. Claire hadn't been taken. Why? She flipped the photo. In her mother's handwriting, 4th of July. Claire wandered off. Found her in the woods. Said she was playing with the girl with the quiet shoes. Claire dropped the photo. She had been chosen and let go. A slip of paper in the journal revealed more. E.D. Cross, residence record, Pennsylvania Children's Welfare Board, Evelyn Marie Cross, 1967 to 1972. But the document was false. The girl had appeared in photos before 1967. The last line, not a runaway. She was already gone before she left. Now Claire knew 3 things. She wasn't Evelyn Cross. She had been appearing in photos for over 60 years, and of all the children she touched, only one ever came back. Claire Reich. Why? Lined along the walls, the basement still carried the scent of metal, dust, and old pipe tobacco. Labeled toolboxes, radio parts, fishing gear, and decades of half-used hardware occupied every shelf. A long wooden workbench stretched across the back wall, layered thick with time and silence. But it was the metal trunk in the corner that drew Claire's eye. It wasn't just old. It looked forgotten. Cobwebs clung to the corners, and the lock was rusted over. She hesitated, then grabbed a wrench from the pegboard and struck the latch twice. It snapped open. The lid creaked. Inside were 5 things. A crumpled brown envelope marked "Film Undeveloped," a hand-drawn map of Mirror Pines, a cassette recorder missing its batteries, a yellowed newspaper clipping dated 1972, and a water-stained notebook. Its cover read, in sharp, trembling script, "She walks between years." Claire sat on the basement floor, cross-legged, heart pounding. She opened the notebook. The pages were filled with obsessive handwriting. August 1995. No one sees her, but she's there. Always there. The children never cry. They just vanish. No trace, no struggle, as if they choose to follow. April 1997. Compared photo from 63 to 94. Same child, same clothes, same face. Maddie smiled before she vanished. I think she saw her. July 2001. In folklore, it's called the slip, a place between times, thin spots. She may not be alive, but she remembers how to walk among us. March 2004. The sycamore tree is the center. Check the soil. Roots grow differently, like something beneath is feeding them. Claire closed her eyes. Uncle Hank hadn't been grieving. He had been investigating. She unfolded the hand-drawn map. Every landmark at Mirror Pines was there. The cabins, the fire pit, the lake. But one section beyond Cabin 7 was circled in red. A ridge where the land dropped into a ravine. Labeled in block letters, Cavity. What did you find? Claire whispered. She opened the envelope. 4 tightly curled rolls of 35mm film. Brittle with age. She grabbed a slide viewer and popped in the first strip. Campfire, laughter, children. A group shot in front of Cabin 7, Maddie, mid-laugh. And then the girl. Shadowed, barefoot, white overalls, always there. Claire drove downtown, dropped off the film at a 1-hour lab. While she waited, she read the newspaper clipping. The 1972 Evelyn Cross article. At the bottom, in Uncle Hank's handwriting, she wasn't the first. Not even close. But she might have been the last to resist. Shivers ran down Claire's spine. By 3:10 p.m., the prints were ready. She laid them out on her car hood. 12 shots, campfires, birthdays, lake days. But 3 stopped her cold. 1976, a toddler on a picnic blanket. The girl in overalls stands behind. 1985, Parker Quinn's birthday. A red Matchbox car, burned on one side, clutched in her hand, his favorite, listed in his missing report. The last image took her breath. A photo from under Cabin 7. Beneath the floorboards, a trap door, barely visible, traced in chalk, a tiny handprint beside it, and above, smeared in pencil, "She brings the ones who listen." Claire didn't wait. She drove to Jen's. "I have to go back," she said. "No," Jen whispered. "Not that place. I need you to come with me." They returned just after 8 p.m. Cabin 7 leaned like a dying tree. They wore masks for dust. Their headlamps cut through the shadows. Inside, floorboards sagged, drawers hung open, a blue ribbon lay tangled in dirt. "Where's the trap door?" Jen asked. They moved debris. Claire's fingers found the seam, a square beneath grime. They pried it open. Cold air spilled out, wet, metallic. Inside, a stone cavity, just big enough to crawl into, 6 feet across. Chalk drawings lined the walls, trees, a figure in overalls, and a cardboard box. Inside, a cassette marked Maddie. Day 3, a drawing of the sycamore tree and a photo. Maddie, cross-legged in the stone tunnel, smiling faintly. Next to her, the girl, smiling back. Claire dropped the box. "She's been here," she whispered. Jen pointed. "Look at the drawing. 2 stick figures beneath the tree. One had a bow. Maddie, the other, blank face, bare feet. Behind them, a red crayon door, labeled the between room. They fled before 10:30 p.m. The next morning, Claire borrowed a cassette player, pressed play. Click. Static. Then, Maddie's voice. "It's day 3. The lady said I can talk now. I was good. I got a sticker." A whisper followed. Not English. "She wants me to draw the tree again, the one where we met. She liked it, said we'll go through soon, to the between room, where it's always quiet." The tape ended. Claire sat there, remembering. And suddenly, she did. A voice from the dark. "You can stay or you can forget." She had chosen to forget. Now she remembered. September 20th, 2024. Mirror Pines. Claire returned alone. Jen begged her not to go, but Claire couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Maddie's voice haunted her. "She wants me to draw the tree again." This wasn't about grief. It was about opening the door. Claire knelt beneath the sycamore. Her fingers found an X between 2 faint handprints, one small, one older. She dug. An hour in, she hit wood, a narrow hatch. She opened it. A cold gust hit her face. She descended. 20 uneven stone steps, a room, 10 feet wide, walls covered in drawings, and a photo, pinned fresh. Her, from behind, taken that morning. She was being watched. Beside it, a tunnel. She crawled through, names scratched into stone. Troy, Hannah, Parker, Josephine, Maddie. The room at the end was round, quartz-lined, silent. A child-sized door stood alone, marked in red, the between room. The knob turned. A hand reached out, not sudden, just present. "Maddie?" Claire whispered. "Where time is soft," Maddie replied. "She waits," said another voice. Claire turned. The girl in overalls stood behind her, hovering, eyes black. "Why me?" Claire asked. "You were quiet. You listened." "I don't remember. You chose not to." "I want Maddie." "She wants you too, but she doesn't belong anymore. You'll have to trade." Claire's stomach dropped. She turned to the door. "Maddie, do you want to come back?" A pause. "Will you stay with her?" Claire remembered the sparkler. The moment she turned away. "I will," she said. The door opened. Maddie stepped out. Still 5, still barefoot, still smiling. And the door closed. Claire whispered, "Remember me." And then, the between room swallowed her. September 22nd, 2024, Cherryville. Maddie stood blinking in the sunlight. She hadn't aged a day. Jen found her near the fire road. Maddie didn't speak, just held Jen's hand. At the hospital, tests confirmed it. She was 5. No changes, no time passed. She drew trees, a door, always the girl. Detective Grange reopened the files. Unofficially, she created Project Between. And one night, alone in the office, she pinned the final photo to her wall. Claire, walking through the pines, holding a child's hand and looking back, smiling, faces, locations, and one unbroken thread, all led back to Mirror Pines. Not just the campgrounds, but the land itself. Every disappearance occurred within a 30-mile radius. Every photo with the barefoot girl was tied to a moment near the same ridge, beneath the same canopy of trees, beside the same waters. She wasn't hunting them. They came to her, as if called. That night, Maddie stirred in Jen's house. The bedroom was too quiet, the hallway darker than it should be. She slipped out of bed, bare feet padding silently toward the living room. On the bookshelf was a photo album, new but wrong, off. She opened it. Dozens of Polaroids stared back at her. Not just from the reunion, but from the days after. Scenes from the between room, drawings, stone walls, blankets, shadows. Page by page, the story unfolded. Claire watching from the doorway. A crayon drawing. 2 stick figures, one small, one tall. The taller one circled in red. The next page was blank, save for a line scrawled in red ink. She is not done. At dawn, Jen found Maddie curled on the couch, the album open across her lap. She wasn't crying. She only whispered, "She's looking again." That same morning, Grange received an email marked Urgent, Missing Child. September 24th, Blue Ridge Baptist Fall Picnic, 28 miles from Mirror Pines. Victim, Elsie Hartwell, age 6. Last seen holding a paper kite. No scream, no footprints, just the kite, folded neatly on the ground. Grange froze. A glance at the map confirmed her fears. The site sat firmly inside the 30-mile ring. It had started again. She returned to her corkboard. Mirror Pines at the center. Dates, threads, photos radiating out. She added one more. Clare Reich, date unknown. Smiling near the sycamore. But her eyes, they didn't smile. Behind her, faint in the tree line, a small hand rested on her shoulder. Her name had never been Evelyn. Because names belonged to people. The girl in the overalls wasn't someone. She was something, an echo, a hunger, a passage waiting to be opened by the quiet ones. September the 26th. Search parties combed the woods for Elsie. Dogs, drones, no trace, no sound. But children whispered. She was talking to someone in the woods, a girl in white pants. Grange didn't correct them. She simply turned toward the forest and listened. Maddie hadn't spoken since the dream. She wouldn't tell Jen what she saw. Only dirt under her fingernails and a crayon drawing clutched in her hand. Clare, older now, changed. Behind her, a girl with empty eyes. Grange called Clare's apartment. The landlord confirmed it. A Polaroid had come in the mail. Clare in the woods, eyes shut. A child beside her, a new child, one not yet reported missing. Grange knew. Clare had become something else. No longer just the one who watched. Now she led them. That night, Maddie walked to the basement. She opened a crawl-space door no one had touched in years. Inside was only cold, quiet dark. She whispered, "You left the door open." A voice replied, not Clare's, but close. "She needs someone new." Maddie reached out. Her fingers brushed wood. A knob. A door. It breathed beneath her palm. Listening. Grange received 2 new Polaroids. One of Clare with a red balloon. Another of a child Grange didn't recognize, yet. Behind her in the trees, 2 figures. Clare and the barefoot girl, hand in hand. She added the photo to her board. Beneath it, she wrote, "The door is not closed. It never was." She added another note. "The listener has become the walker. The taken becomes the guide. The game begins again." That night, Maddie stood by the window. The world slept. In the glass, a reflection, a barefoot girl behind her. Maddie nodded. "I remember now." September 28th. Children whispered again. Shapes in the pines, a girl in white. Through classroom windows. Teachers laughed. But Maddie heard it too. A forest breathing stories older than memory. She stood in the yard, a crayon drawing in her arms. This time she'd drawn a window beside the door. In the window, her own face. Clare stood near the old campground, more shadow than woman. Bugs didn't land on her. Birds didn't see her. She was something in between. In her hand, a photo, Maddie's birthday, 1994. She folded it, tucked it into the sycamore's hollow, and walked toward the fire pit. The between room stirred. Someone new was coming. Later that day, another child went missing. Carrara Tillman, age 6. No struggle. A photo found. Carrara smiling on the porch. In the glass door's reflection, Clare, barefoot, watching. That night, Maddie woke at 3:03 a.m. between time. She opened her closet. Shadows. A slip of paper. The last guest is you. Grange arrived at dawn. Through the mist, a blue door stood alone, a red balloon tied to the knob. Behind it, Clare. Grange stepped forward. "How many more?" Clare said nothing, just pointed. A photo pinned to the base, a child. June Everly, age 7, future. Then Clare and the door vanished. Maddie's final drawing had no trees, no doors. Just two hands reaching toward each other. She placed it on the windowsill. Whispered, "Okay." Grange filed one last note. The last guest has already been invited. But the sender remained unknown. In the attic of an abandoned ranger station, a cassette recorder clicked on. Static. A voice. "She says there's still room. She saved a place for you." At 4:44 a.m., every trail cam around Mirror Pines captured the same image. The blue door open. A child stepped through barefoot, holding a drawing. October 4th. The old ranger station was turned into a memorial. No plaque, just offerings. Stuffed animals, notes, photos. The trail sign read, "In memory of those who vanished and those who opened the door." Grange visited weekly. Sometimes there was a hum, sometimes not. But on the first Sunday of October, something was waiting. A cherry-lined shoe. Inside, a photo, Clare smiling beneath a dark tree, Elsie in her lap. On the back, she never left. She just stopped being seen. In 2026, a camper posted a photo, just a creepy tree. But in the background, two figures, one small, one taller, barefoot. Watching. Some doors don't close. Some names are never spoken, but some echoes never stop listening.